Today I'm sitting in my outside area and I thought I should address some of the comments and the DMs I have received regarding certain topics. And one of the things that what people really want to understand is water propagation and soil propagation. Now the thing is that I know when we do the videos on propagation is that it sometimes does go very fast. So today I'd love to sit down and show you exactly what I'm talking about when I'm doing the water and the soil. So we're going to have a two-part series, one for water and one for soil propagation, and I will show you exactly what to do. So welcome back to my channel. My name is Alice and I'm the Redsoil gardener. So before we continue, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and like, and also share the episode with your friends and get people to subscribe. And don't forget to press that notification bell. So today I'm going to talk about water propagation, and basically I have my plants, which we've covered a lot of these plants in previous episodes. Now what I'd love to do is to actually take you step by step in every single process to be able to do a water propagation. Now the first thing we always talk about the node is I would like to show you the nodes. Every plant has a different node, a different looking node, but once you can recognize it, is basically you're on the way to a water propagation. So we'll start off with the margarita. We've covered this before. Now what you need to do first is I've just actually removed some of these little stems here. Now the thing is that I'm always talking about the node. The node is a place where you get branches coming out of. Secondly is when placed in water you will get the rooting. And also in different types of creepers, let's say like a money plant or a pothos, is that at its node you may even have aerial roots, which are not bad because they do develop eventually into roots. But basically every single plant has a different maybe shape of a node. Some plants will have like this margarita, which I've actually removed some of their branches from the side, and I will remove this one where I'm going to just snip it there so we can get a better view. This is the node. This is the node where you get the junction here, where you get your branch or you get a leaf, and this is where the rooting is going to start. So whenever you do any sort of propagation, always look for the node. So let's take this daisy plant, which it's an African daisy, but we actually covered. Again, I have removed all these leaves around here, and again, like the margarita, wherever you get a node, which is where the branching of the leaf, or in a situation it could be just a branch coming off, is that's where your rooting is going to happen. Some nodes look different. So this, you have a multitude of nodes, but this is our Mexican petulia, which we also covered. Now, if you look at the node, which is this section where I removed the leaves, it's a very different looking node from the margarita. And that again is where the rooting or the leaf will come from. And once submerged, you're already halfway through to your water propagation. Now, we actually talked about the Begonia plant and where I did a water propagation and I put it in water. And I'd like to show you what is happening here. The Begonia node looks like this, which looks like a circle that goes around the stem. But here again is, I can see a rooting happening because that's where your rooting is going to happen anywhere that you get this sort of marking, or where the leaf comes from, or from the aerial root, that is where you're going to have your rooting, and that is the trick. Once you recognize the node, make sure it's submerged, and once it's submerged, you will get rooting. Now, this is the other begonia that we did, and look at that, it's already rooting, and again, is from the node here, the junctions, that's where all the rooting comes from. Look at that. That's your propagation. So I'm going to just return these two in here and then talk about some other thing. Is now, once, let's take a daisy, for example, is that this African daisy, it's already flowering. Now, the whole thing about propagation is you only leave maybe 2 leaves onto the stem that you're propagating, only because you don't want the energy to be used in flower production. This is a spent flower, which I will remove. But once you let this flower and leave it on the stem, what happens is that it automatically will go into seed production. And that's why when you're water propagating, first thing is I am going to remove the spent flower because we don't want the energy to go there. And the second thing you're going to do is remove this flower because we don't want it to go into seed production. Because what you want your stem to do is actually start producing roots, and that's where the energy should go. Now, I would like to have a look at this one, our Mexican patchouli, which we did cover. Now, this is interesting because normally what happens is now with propagation is that we're always saying it's best to have 2 nodes. And basically, so I have 1 node here, I have another node here. Now, I am going to actually cut it about 1/2 inch, and that's enough. I'll tell you why. But 1/2 inch like that from the base. And so this is what I'm going to propagate. Now, the reason of having 2 nodes is that one will be submerged in the water, and the other one, as the plant now starts producing its rooting, is that you will get a leaf coming out of there. This is called an internode. So this is the in-between 2 nodes. And the job for this section is actually to get the nutrients and the water and the hormones to feed this plant. If you don't have a section like this, is that it'll be difficult to feed the plant, you know, to get the water going up. But the reason why you keep this amount, this 1/2 inch at the base, is that basically when you do put it in water, you allow the water and the oxygen in the water to get sucked up to your plant. So it's always good to keep that amount which is submerged, because the rooting will take place here and it'll shoot all the oxygen, the water and whatever else into the leaves and help it with the photosynthesis and feed that into rooting. Now, with the arrowhead, we talked about it and we had put it in water, and since then it's grown completely. I have about 6 of them in my kitchen, and so with the 6 is that I use it for foliage and plant life, and basically is that you don't have to water it, you just change the water once a week and there's no risk of overwatering. So again, this is a part of a propagation, and when I am ready, maybe in what, 10 months time or maybe not, is I can still use it and plant it in the soil. So I want to show you the rooting. We started off with just a plant with no rooting, and here we go. This is the rooting of my arrowhead. And what I wanted to show you is, because arrowheads do have aerial roots, and some of the aerial roots do turn into roots. And so here we go. So this is my aerial root here, coming out here. So with my aerial roots, as I said earlier, is that once they are submerged, they do get a rooting. So it's not a bad idea. So when I do this, I can actually, having it sit here for 5 months and being my decorative piece in my kitchen, I could actually, it's full grown, I could plant it in my garden when I'm ready. But for display purposes, I just keep them all together in my vase. Just make sure everything is tucked in. I keep them all in my vase, and I keep them in my kitchen just for a display and adding greenery in my kitchen. So here, what I would do is I would get water in a glass, and then the beauty about getting a clear glass is that you get to see the rooting. I've put this one with pebbles inside, and you get to see the rooting and you watch it grow. Now what I'm going to do with these ones is, first of all, always check the level, because you don't want to get the leaves wet. Because once the leaves do get wet, then it gets all soggy and you may lose your plant. So if my water level is like that for this one, and this is like this, I might have to, okay, it's not bad. So once it's in your water here, and making sure that the leaves are not in touch with water, is place it in a warm place, but not in direct sun. Direct sun will scorch your leaves and the plant will die, but it needs warmth in order to get a vigorous rooting. Once you do get rooting from a water propagation, now I must pull this one out and just show you, is basically the rooting is always far more fragile than the soil propagation. And if you can see, I mean, these lovely filaments, it's basically quite fragile. I would wait until it's about 2 inches or 3 inches, and then you introduce it to soil. Now the thing is that there's 2 methods of doing this. Is you can just take it and automatically put it in soil, and then you keep the soil really moist, and when you do introduce it to soil, have the soil already moist, because we don't want it to go into a transplant shock. But what you could also do is slowly take a teaspoon of soil and keep adding it into your water so that the plant doesn't get such a shock. And once you do that, is the rooting will get stronger, and once you do fill your jar with a substantial enough soil, is you can slowly now introduce it to your pot. So fellow gardeners, I hope I've given you enough tips, and good luck with your water propagation. And next time we're talking about soil propagation, and do join me on that one. I hope my tips are really good. I hope you've learned a lot about the famous nodes, and then just look after your plant and soon you will get babies. Thank you so much, and don't forget to like, share, and also press that notification button and give us your views, as it gets us ready for the next episode and we address what you'd like. Thank you so much and have a lovely day.